rural Americans, we have a unique understanding of and connection to the land. Whether we ranch, farm, log, or simply recreate, what we do today determines our tomorrow. As stewards of the land, it's our duty to ensure that our children and grandchildren can enjoy the outdoors in a similar manner that was afforded us. Join the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and ensure the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage. Visit rmef.org today.
Thank you, of course, as always, our friends at Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for supporting everything according to Flint and all our endeavors. Here in the studio this week, I welcome to episode number 44 of the podcast, from the heart of the Blackfeet Indian Reservation in northern Montana, the one and only Dougie Hall, a Native American saddle bronc rider, horse trainer, bucking horse owner, and motivational speaker, and a friend to many of us who has taken a life of hardship on the Blackfeet Reservation and made a great life. He's a great personality and a great friend, and we're anxious to have him right here on According to Flint. But first, a quick message, of course, from our great supporters, Pendleton Whiskey. Well, welcome to episode number 44 of According to Flint. Just shifting gears a little bit, just bringing a good friend. I think a good friend on the show. He is the one and only, everybody's favorite Indian. I don't know about everybody's favorite Indian, but he tells me pretty much every week that he's my favorite Indian. Dancin Dougie Hall himself. Yeah, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Flint. I appreciate you.
Hey, did you notice? I know we were kind of talking before we went on the air, but I wore my Montana Western rodeo shirt just for you. I wore that for you.
I love it. Shoot, every time I see the color red, I always think Holy Else.
That's right. The old the coach of Western Montana. She'd been there since I was there.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when was it? I remember when they were doing her like retirement kind of party, and then like the alumni had sent in videos, and you sent one in, and you said, "I bet you anything she's sitting somewhere in the crowd wearing a red blazer and black khakis."
The black polyester pants and the red blazer. I'm glad you remember that. Well, a fellow Western alum right here, reminiscing. So you made the college national finals, didn't you? My girls are right now in the midst of college rodeo season, the spring season. You made the college finals, didn't you?
Yeah, I made it when I was a junior, I believe. I didn't even know I made it until the announcer said it.
How do you not know? Like you just were rodeoing away and it wasn't a big concern, or what?
Yeah, well, like bronc riding was always a struggle for me. Like it was always hard. Like I always had to really work at it. You know what I mean? Like when I was 14, when I got into high school, I couldn't even bench press the bar. I was probably like the most least athletic kid you could ever find. Like always picked last on teams and things like that. And so I worked at it. You know, I rode horses bareback every day, and I worked out a lot and getting on the spur board and stuff. So when the bronc riding finally started to click, it meant a lot to me. And one of my heroes was always Billy Etbauer. And I remember Billy saying, he said, "I never paid attention to the points, and I never talked about the points, and I never talked to anybody that talked to me about the points." He said, because it always makes you want to think a different type of way than what you should be doing. You know, no matter what the points or the money won is, you know, you still got to go out there and do your job. And he said, I just always really idolized him. So I always took that approach.
I remember sitting at like the state high school rodeo when my kids were in high school, and I'd watch parents with their clipboard and their blazer or their visor, you know, the visor and the clipboard. And they were going down the results, calculating where their kid was in the all around. And and that was it. And I've never seen anything screw up kids so bad. My kids included. They'd start thinking, well, I'm sitting good in the all around. Like, oh, just one at a time. It's the old rodeo thing. Do the best you can on the animal you've been drawn, right? That's it.
Yeah, all you could do is do the best you can with what you got. Like, my Uncle Mouse, you always hear me talk about him. One of my favorite, I call him Mouseisms, is he always told me, he said, my boy, you might have a lot of horses to ride, but you only got one ass. So ride that one horse today.
Since I was a kid, well, I don't know about a kid, but forever, I heard about, there were horses out in the Northwest in pro rodeo. This horse came from Mouse Hall. I'd be somewhere else. This horse came from Mouse Hall. That guy, your Uncle Mouse Hall, has had bucking horses around the country forever. Like it's like he's hidden up there on the reservation on the mountain front, just kicking out bucking horses. That fits that's right into what you love, isn't
it? Yeah, shoot. I've always been a horse lover. And then it wasn't until, because I've always known Mouse. Like, first time I met him, do you remember that summer series he used to have? They called it Red Gap, or the Glacier Gateway rodeo series up in East Glacier.
It was that arena right on that flat by the pond there?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember going up to that when I was a little kid because my uncle was riding broncs. And we'd head up there, and I wanted to be a bronc rider, because my uncle, he's probably one of the best bronc riders to come off this reservation. And my Uncle Winslow, my dad's brother. And he, I remember we'd always go up there to watch him. And, I'd always hear stories about Mouse and this and that. And then seeing horses buck across your TV screen with Mouse's brand on it, the famous 69, they'd say that was your uncle's horse and this and that. And so I always really idolized him, you know what I mean? And the first time I met him, I always remember it was up at his summer series rodeo. And I was probably like 8 years old. And I heard he had a bronc riding school coming up. And I wanted to be a bronc rider. So I go walking behind the chutes, and I look and I see Mouse, and it's like 80 degrees and he's got a duster on. He's got that red tough rag, and he's got a toothpick in his mouth. And I look up, I go over and I kind of tug on his duster. And he looks down at me, and I'm looking up at him, and he just looks like the Indian John Wayne. And I said, hey, Uncle Mouse, are you having a bronc riding school? And he was getting ready to flank a horse that one of my cousins was getting on. And he looked at me and said, you watch this old mare. She's the bronc riding school. So I just sat on that chute with him, and my cousin got on that horse, and that mare didn't buck like no old mare. She piled my cousin up. They had to go scoop him out of the arena. And I remember thinking, I think I'm good on the school for a while.
That was it. Class was over.
Yeah, class was over.
There was some good bronc riders up there. Like your Uncle Winslow, one of the best bronc riders and coolest bronc riders I knew was Scotty Auger from up on the Blackfeet reservation. And he was flashy. And I remember as a kid watching Scotty Auger, and he'd win the bronc riding, and Bob Shaw would win the bareback riding. And then when I got married and I was older and my kids were junior events, I went to the Big Timber NRA rodeo, and Scotty Auger won the saddle bronc riding, and Bob Shaw won the bronc riding. Bob Shaw won the bareback riding. Like 20 years later, nothing has ever changed. But there's some guy. Well, am I right? Because I read that your Indian name is Crazy After Horses.
Yeah.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
When you guys look at your culture and kind of your heritage, man, horses are ingrained in the Plains Indian heritage, especially up on the Blackfeet res. It's just part of who you are, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's shoot, like, well, you've seen it, you've driven through Browning, and I can't speak for every reservation, but I'd say most of the reservations in Montana are like, or maybe like 80% of the reservations you ever go to, you know, you drive through them and there's kids riding bareback through town, or they're playing basketball.
They're either riding bareback or playing basketball. Yeah.
Yeah. They're running around racing and stuff like that. I remember one time we was at, I can't remember what rodeo it was, but it was Indian rodeo. And this bucking horse threw the guy off, and it jumped out of the arena. It was right on the track. It jumped out of the arena, and like everybody, you know, like normally people would start panicking because all the kids are right there. Or this bucking horse just jumped the fence, and shoot, it jumped the fence and it headed out across that track, and all them Indian kids just started racing.
They're on the highway more than anything. When you go up Highway 89 from Shoto to Browning, it's like, okay, slow down. There's horses on the highway here. Like my neighbor got in a wreck. He hit one when I was up there. So,
oh shoot.
But yeah, you look out across the prairie, up the plains up there in those rolling hills, and it's horses, few cows, a few grizzly bears, few kids. It's interesting because, and I've become more interested in it because growing up near Browning and the Blackfeet Reservation was just part of kind of how we were growing up. My dad announced Indian rodeos for when we were kids. He announced every Indian rodeo up there, Birch Creek, and they'd have one in Browning. I think I was pretty old when I realized my dad's not an Indian. Like, they used to tell him, one of the birds up there, beaver bird or one of them, asked him to rope with him in an Indian rodeo. My dad said, I'm not an Indian. He said, you act like one. Just come with us. You're okay. But looking at your heritage, what is your heritage as far as tribal relation? Are you all Blackfeet? Where do you go back in all of that?
I'm mostly Blackfoot, and then I'm part Cree. And but the way Mouse tells it, and this will probably piss a lot of people off, but I don't really care. Yeah.
As long as it's you that piss him off and not me, we're good.
Yeah, no, it's all me. He said, my boy, he said, if you think about it, we were talking about our family and stuff and bloodlines and whatnot. He said, us Indians are no different than them bucking horses out there. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you think about it, all these horses are right here in this herd. Well, they all get related. Well, then they go over to that herd and steal a mare so that they don't inbreed. He said, so technically a Plains Indian is just a Plains Indian. Because back then, like, and it sounds pretty gruff, it's just the way it was all about survival, survival and common sense. You would go and say you had a wife or a daughter, and but you needed some horses. Well, that horse was going to be able to feed you, so you would go to say like somebody from another tribe or another band or whatever. You'd say, I'll trade you my daughter, or I'll trade you, this woman for 2 horses or for that horse, because it was all about survival, putting food in mouths. And that's how they did it, because the life expectancy of men wasn't very long. Men were always going out on raiding parties and, going out and hunting and stuff. Well, it was risky. You're always risking your life. So it was all about, it sounds crude, but that's how they live. That's how they survive.
I think in our telling of history, we see it in every aspect of history in our country, around the world now, that we want to eliminate that part of history that makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we're told. That's why I like talking to guys like you, because I don't think we get told enough of the accurate history. And it sounds crude. There's a term for holding your culture as superior, ethnocentrism or something, where you hold your culture as a standard and judge others by that. You can't do it. It was a hard lifestyle, but we can't eliminate that part of history though, can we?
No, I mean, just look at it for what it was. And I mean, take what you like and leave the rest.
You got to know it, because you got to know how to sort through it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was at the state basketball tournament one year. It was in Missoula. It was a few years ago. And there was about 4 or 5 Indian native teams playing. And I sat down, and for some reason I always sit and BS with them, and I have a pretty good relationship with what I've done in rodeo and stuff. There's a pretty good connection there. And this guy said, well, one way it goes back to what you're saying about the horses and the tribes, and it's very close proximity in Montana. So yeah, you're all related. But he said, yeah, when we play each other, we sure hate each other. But if they're playing somebody else, I'm cheering for them. Like the unwritten rule. So, it is in this. I want to talk about this because it's really at the heart of what you're doing now with, it's great. I just saw on social media, you've been doing a lot of motivational speaking. You've been going to schools on the reservation, giving a good message, and we'll get to that. But it really traces back to, life was hard back in history, but life on the reservation for young people now. And I've been through Browning. I've played sports up there. It's tough for kids. It ain't an easy life, is it?
No, I mean, shoot, for starters, like right where we live, it's, how Browning is. Like, it'll snow about 2 to 5 feet and blow like 130 miles an hour.
Hey, when you talked about the arena at East Glacier up on that flat, all I can think about is that little pond with the white caps from the wind blowing there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, shoot, the weather's brutal here. And then, and there's no other way to put it. You go to a reservation, you want to know and don't get me wrong, I had a great childhood and I love where I grew up. I love my culture, love my people. But I remember, I had some buddies from college, and for some reason they drove through Browning, and they were in shock, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it's like seeing a third world country for the first time. And like I said, there's no other way to put it. What I think it happened, and what started all that was, did you ever hear that term, historical trauma?
Tell me.
Like back in the day, when the way I was told is when the government put 5 wires up around this chunk of land here, and said, this is where you Blackfeet got to live, and if you left the reservation without permission, you got 1 year in the state penitentiary. And they allotted everybody land. Well, shoot, one thing about this grass here on the Blackfeet reservation is it's got 2 to 3% more crude protein than I think anywhere else. I think there's another place like here, but I think it's in like Africa or something. I can't remember. But animals do well here in the spring and summer. And so it's very profitable and it's very beautiful. It's a very profitable piece of land.
Yes.
Well, then the settlers started to realize that, and they started they would get Indians drunk to get them to sign a paper to sell their land and things like that. And so one thing, and this is just my opinion, this ain't the way it is, just take it with a grain of salt, but European cultures have been exposed to alcohol and foods with starches, things like that, and sugar, processed sugar. Like that's been introduced into European cultures for a really long time, and
thousands of years.
And Indians, we didn't get introduced to that until at least my tribe, at least like 300-400 years ago. That's only, like, the way I look at it, that's like 3 or 4 grandpas. That's not very long. Mm-hmm. And our bodies can't handle things like that. That's why you see a lot of diabetes on the reservation, and you see a lot of alcoholism, because they get a drink of that alcohol and they're basically allergic to it. It's an allergy of the body and an obsession of the mind. And I used to think alcoholics were bad people, but I don't think that. I think it just causes good people to say and do some bad things. And so say like back then, things happened to my ancestors, and they were here on the reservation. Well, how did they cope with it? Something traumatic happened to them. You know what I mean? Got your hair cut off and got your land taken from you. Got beat up if you spoke your language. Just lots of horrible things happen. And then they had kids. And then their kids seen their parents doing the same thing. And it just like genetics, just like bucking horses, you know what I mean? Like you look at Lunatic Fringe, like a lot of his colts buck a lot like him. You know what I mean? They really put their head between their legs, just kind of sweep the arena with their nose. A lot of them do that. Well, that stuff gets passed down. They act like their dad, they act like their mom. And same thing with people. Well, then those kids had kids, then they had kids, and now you got me. You know what I mean? So a lot of that, and I'm not blaming or condemning anybody. I'm just looking at it for what it is, because that's how we learn, right? We look, so we don't repeat the same stuff. We look at history.
So somehow, if life is to improve for you, like as an individual, you have to break the cycle. You have to step in and break that cycle. And you have made the conscious decision, and your mom made you do it. She told you, you got to break the cycle. She may not have used those words, but she said, you promised me, in a sense, she said, you promised me you're going to break that cycle. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. When an Indian woman tells you something and gives you that look and goes like that, I mean, feels like you get snapped by a bullwhip right between your eyes.
But you kept your promise, correct?
Yeah, I did. I was also like, I've had a lot of help, and it takes, you ever hear that saying, it takes a tribe to raise a kid? And I ain't perfect by any means, and I ain't no angel. I've made mistakes and things like that, like everybody does. But I was also very fortunate to have people like my dad, like my mom, like my Uncle Mouse, like my Uncle Wins, people that were that they didn't care what I wanted to do with my life, as long as they pointed me in a good direction. Like, especially after my mother died, one of the people that really took me in was Uncle Mouse. And I got a good education at Western, but I'll tell you, the best school I've ever been to was Mouse Hall School.
Hey, when my kids were little traveling with us, their mom was really good about saying, we try not to let school get in the way of a good education. and that wasn't it goes to what you say. There are other ways you can learn a lot. And by the way, not everybody has an Uncle Mouse. You might be the only friend I have that has an Uncle Mouse. But that's what you do. You need that person to put their arm around you, in a sense, and go this way. Then it's up to you. You're the only one, though, that can really decide to go that way.
Yeah.
And you went that way. You did that.
Yeah. I mean, like, oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
No. It's all you, buddy.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Mouse always, like, ever since I got close, I didn't get close to him until I was probably like 21 years old. Because I would come back from school. Well, I needed a summer job, and he has that trail riding business. Now you take tourists on horses up to the border of Glacier Park and, kind of show them around a bit. And I was one of his guides, and I remember I'd show up every morning, and he really took a liking to me because say like my grandpa, my dad's dad, my dad's dad's name was Cap Hall. Well, Cap and Mouse were raised like brothers. You know, they were really close. And unfortunately, I didn't get to meet my grandpa Cap. He passed away when my dad was pretty little. And anyway, he was a buck and horse guy, bronc rider, and always smiling and stuff. And I remember Mouse told me, he said, when I look at you, I don't see Doug, I see Cap Hall. And so I think every morning I'd show up to work, I'd get there about 7:00, and I'd go and get the trail horses in. And after I'd get them in, by then the other guides would start showing up, and they would they'd start showing up, and Mouse, he'd always yell at me and wave me into his office, and he'd make everybody else saddle and grain horses, and he'd just sit there and pour me coffee and talk to me about bucking horses.
What a turd. You had it figured out.
Yeah, that's what he told me. He said, I remember one time he said, I know you, Doug Hall. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I used to be just like you. He said, you always show up really early for breakfast or really late for dinner. You got it figured out.
I can imagine. Hey, I have, just from all my travels around the country, you have a trail riding business, and I didn't know Mouse had that business. I can just imagine the tourists, they go home to their city or wherever they're from. We went on a trail ride with a real Indian. It was so cool. He had a ponytail. Did you play it up? I mean, he got it. You don't really have to, because you got the long hair, but it would be awesome if you just show up one morning. We're going on a trail ride, and you're in a loincloth with a bow on your back. Like wind in his hair on Dances with Wolves. Remember?
Yeah.
That's a tip for you. I'm making you money, man.
Yeah. It's business class right here.
Marketing. It's marketing, Doug. It's marketing. Yeah. It's interesting though. I talked about my mom and dad who are going to watch this, but my dad spent a lot of time. He taught school up in Harlem, up by the res there. And he was at Crow Agency for a time, and Hayes Lodgepole, that area. And he has pointed out, and tell me, if I'm in this, again, I'm stating kind of what I've heard, don't take it with a grain of salt, but it's hard because I see it in basketball more than anything, where they play basketball. And I mean, that's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen. And the people on the reservation say he should go play college basketball. But then when they do, they get a little chastised for leaving. It's like, wait a minute, you deserted us. That might be a little harsh, but what track I'm on? There's a little bit of it. It's that it pulls them back into that life that they're leading on the reservation, kind of on track. Am I on track with that?
Oh yeah, you're very on track. And I'll just go ahead and say it. Like, Indians are really clannish people. You know what I mean? Like, we like to be around our own kind. Like
naturally.
Me, like I can go out. Yeah, like naturally. Just naturally. Like I can go out like anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country. Like, where was I? I was at the I think I was at the national finals. We was there watching it and stuff, and I looked around. I seen an Indian guy and his wife. I didn't even know where he was from. I didn't know who he was. We just automatically, like, soon as we just locked eyes, and we were instant best friends.
You're partners. Okay, you were instantly, yeah.
You just kind of give them that Indian way. You go like that. Hey!
Hell, I do that.
Or they're really like I said, really clannish people. They like to be around their own kind. And it's really hard for a native to step out of their comfort zone. You know what I mean? Like the college basketball, college thing like that. And you really, you got to have a good support group. You know what I mean? And I guess to step out of that comfort zone. And I mean, like I've seen it, like I talk about it, like I've said it on my videos, I don't care. Like it's like and it's not always negative, but a lot of the times, like you have them people that are like crabs in a bucket, you know what I mean? Like you crab tries to get out of the bucket and see the ocean, view the world, and the other crabs say and do things to try to pull them back in. You know what I mean? And because it's like, because I remember I was watching, it was what the heck was it? I was watching one of your interviews with Dan Mortensen, I think it was, and you guys were talking about like how people from your some people from your own community will like try to like, oh yeah, I know that guy and this and that, and like they'll try to like bring their own kind down, you know, to bring you, you know, and everybody's equal. Nobody's better than nobody, but they try to, it's just a jealousy thing, I guess. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Am I on track?
I see it a little, again, you and I sit here and worry about getting in trouble for what we say. I see it a little in Montana as we, you know, the week we're doing this is the only main PBR tour stop in Montana. It's Billings.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's my most pressure-filled week with the pull of not just good stuff, you know, if people want tickets or come to the radio station, but also a pressure of, oh yeah, I remember when you were at Big Timber, you were way better. Now you're off doing, don't hang out with us. You're in these cities a little bit, not all that much, but I do feel that a little bit. So I'm with you on that. So yeah, you're on track on that.
Yeah. Like my Uncle Mouse, like I really take a lot from him. Like a lot of like who I am, like I'd say like 80% of who I am comes from that guy. And he told me, you know, what the heck was it? I was frustrated because I was entering rodeos and they were conflicting with one another because I was entering pro rodeos and stuff. Well, they were conflicting with these other rodeos that I was entering. And I was really frustrated. And I always remember Mouse. And you know how Mouse is, like you've met him. He said, my boy, you can spend your whole life trying to be the world's best Indian, or you could quit being afraid of white guys. He walked away.
Yeah. What'd you post the other day? You were sitting there drinking coffee with him and I couldn't hear it very good where I was. Something about women. He was talking about, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he said bucking horses are just like women. And he said, as soon as you need them, they run off.
There's so many those guys. By the way, I got to tell you something. Halfway through this, I'm going to tell you something. I'm pretty good friends with Derek Begay, the roping sensation from the Navajo Nation. I had him on my show in Vegas, and which I had you too, and it was great. You were on a good day. That was a good day for us with Forey Smith and you. And anyway, but afterward, Derek Begay's big joke is Flint, you know, when we play Cowboys and Indians, you can only play one part and I can play two because he's an Indian and a cowboy. So that's his big joke. And we laughed. And after the show, this couple stopped me and they were introduced themselves. They're from Arizona. They were a Navajo couple. And the little lady, the little wife, they got a picture and she said, hey, you know what you say when Derek says you can't play both parts, Cowboys and Indians? I said, yeah. And I laughed. She goes, that's not true because halfway through the interview, you start talking just like him. So by the end of this interview, I'm going to leave here and go downtown Billings. I'll see somebody go, hey, oh, dang it. Damn you, Dougie Hall. Damn you.
You start saying in it.
It was my cousin in it. Like, yeah, I do. I get that when we go to Albuquerque. You know, my joke that I tell to the crowd in Albuquerque, you'll appreciate it. I think maybe you've heard it. Look at us telling. I'm doing a podcast with my Indian friend telling Indian jokes. I don't know if I could do that. My favorite one ever, though, and they love it. The crowd loves it. You got to endear yourself and know that you're all, it's kind of fun, but it's the old, when you go to the haunted house, I always say the haunted house in Gallup, New Mexico, compared to the regular haunted house. In the regular one, the ghost jumps out and goes, boo. And in Gallup, he jumps out and goes, boo. Hey, got you. You can use that. You can use it, but I want credit.
Oh, shoot. I think I was watching, what the heck was it? Dave Chappelle. And he said, I just came from the biggest gathering of Native Americans I've ever seen in my life. I think it was Dave Chappelle. Don't quote me, but he said, yeah, it was in Walmart in Gallup, New Mexico.
No shit. Really? No shit. He said that. Oh my God. That's funny. Yeah. Walmart on King Avenue in Billings is right there too. So
yeah.
Oh shoot. Oh, that's good. At least we can laugh about it. It's that's always good. I find it interesting. I read something that you were in. I didn't write this down, but it just popped into my head. With that in mind a little, I don't know why I thought of this, but you're good friends with Will Shirley, right? Is it Will? You guys are really good friends.
Uh-huh.
And it's a very interesting story about when you first met him and how cautious he was, standoffish with you, right? Because something had happened with his family and he didn't like Indians, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what happened was when he was a little kid, they were buying they sold a trailer house they were living in. They moved and they sold this trailer house to some Indians, and they anyway, I guess one day they heard some noise out and out in their driveway and stuff, and they looked out there, and the people that they had sold their trailer to were stealing from their barn. And it was a big ruckus. His dad went out there and hit one of them, knocked him down, was chasing the other one. Cops were called. Well, Will's just a little kid, you know what I mean? And first impressions are, kind of important. As the first Indians they ever met, and they were robbing them, you know what I mean? So naturally, you're going to be scared of Indians because that was your first encounter with them. Well, then I remember it was because after it was when I was, fast forward when I was 16, after my family and I had gotten that car accident, my mother died. My dad was really cautious with me. He didn't, he just lost his wife. And so he was really protective. He didn't want me to ride bucking horses. He didn't want me to get hurt. He didn't want to lose his baby. Well, one day Dad's gone on a business trip. And, remember I was talking about my goofy Uncle Winslow?
Yeah.
Oh, goofy Uncle Winslow throws me in the car and takes me to go ride bucking horses when my dad was gone. And to any kids that are listening right now, your parents are going to get mad at me, but when you're chasing your dreams and doing what you want to do, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. So remember that. Anyway, my uncle takes me to town and we get to the bucking horse practice, and it was, Dutch and Scotty had horses there. And,
actually, the full name is Dutch and Scotty and them.
Oh yeah, Dutch and Scotty and them.
Yeah, there you go.
They had to get some stickers with that.
I call it Dutch's rodeo company is whatever it's called. What's it?
Black Eagle.
Black Eagle Rodeo Company. I actually call it Dutch and Scotty and them Rodeo Company. So yeah, we need stickers. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, we get to this bucking horse practice, and what the heck was it? I mean, there's probably like at least say like 20 to 30 Indians behind the chutes, and all joking around, hey, you know what I mean? And like horses are running in, and I mean, there's a lot of colts there, and you know how colts are their first time. I mean, they're wild, snorting, flipping over, and the Indians are just laughing at it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like just a normal day on the res. And then I look over and I see there was 3 white kids. There was Will Shirley, Calvin Ophis, and Quincy Rasmussen.
I was just thinking, I wonder if Quincy was there.
And I mean, their eyes are like this, and they're just looking around like all these Indians are laughing and war hooping, and they're just like, oh my God, like we're gonna get killed or something. And the most nervous looking one was Will. And I go up and I thought, shit, this guy looks pretty nervous. I got to make friends with him. He just looks too tense. So I went up to him. I said, hi, my name's Doug. And I introduced myself, shook his hand, and he looked at me like I had two heads. He shook my hand, and anyway, we became friends. And I remember, what the heck was it? He needed because he broke his wrist that day. He was getting on bareback horses at the time, and he broke his wrist. So he didn't want to ride bareback anymore, which was a smart choice in my opinion. Anyway, he went to ride in saddle bronc, and he didn't have any boots to ride bucking horses. So I gave him a pair of mine, because that's how we're raised, Native culture. We're very giving, you know what I mean? Like if somebody needs something and you got it, you give it to them. Like the chief back in the day, the chief wasn't a rich man. Like the chief, somebody in the tribe needed a horse to go hunt some buffalo. The chief would give them his horse. They needed this, the chief would give it to him if he had it. So that's how we're brought up in Native culture, at least, in the Blackfoot culture. Well, there's this poor white kid just broke his wrist, don't got no boots. So I gave him some boots. After I gave him them boots, he thought he owed me his life.
But that changed his image, because as he was a little kid, his first image was to be standoffish. Yeah. And you broke that wall down for him a little bit, right?
Yeah, I didn't even realize there was a wall there. I was just, doing how these, my elders raised me, and it rubbed off on him, I guess. Now he kind of acts like an Indian.
I know Quincy would go up there and ride a lot and rode whatever. And he'd come home and I was up there riding. I'm like, hey, you're good now. Quincy. But it is funny though. Those guys go up, and I'd run into a lot of guys from up on the reservation, different young guys, different kind of generation than me, but be at a rodeo. How's Quincy doing? They just kind of became apart because there was like 2 or 3 of them, and you guys just kind of did this with them and took them in, and Quincy, he landed on his head a lot. He really,
he's Blackfoot now.
Hey, let me ask you, since you've said it a couple times, technical term, tribal names. Is it Blackfoot in Canada and Blackfeet in Montana? Is it mixed? Some will step up and correct you right away.
Yeah.
Are they interchangeable to you? What's the correct way?
I don't know. Like down here they say Blackfeet, but up in Canada, like you said, they say Blackfoot. So, I always looked at it like, I just started saying Blackfoot because the Canadian Blackfoot, they're a lot more into our old ways than we are down here. Like they're a lot more fluent in our language, because they say that like down here we talk baby talk, but up there, they're really, really fluent, and they're really knowledgeable in our ways. And so I thought, well, shoot, them guys know a lot more, and they say Blackfoot. I'll just copy them.
Do you speak Blackfoot? Do you have a little of the language?
A little bit. I'm not very fluent, but I can speak it a little bit.
Like what I know, a lot of that, like Ray Champ, who lives up there, married to Jimmy. He's a Crow, and he'll teach me words in Crow, and it's a lot of it's back here.
Like you're hawking a loogie?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And so he helps me with that. What's the Blackfoot? Like, can you say, how's it sound? A little, say something. Whatever. I know that's asking a lot, but.
Oh, no, you're good. Like, and you really got to be careful, because the words are very close together. Like you could say something, but if you mispronounce it just a hair, you say something completely different. Like oki is hello, and oki is water.
Oh, so the
Yeah,
water has the oki.
Yeah,
but oki is hello.
Yeah, that's hello.
Oki, but I need some oki.
You can use that one.
Because my throat's dry. I need some oki. But yeah, so you get, that's it. There's some technical little things in there that could get you in trouble, probably.
Yeah, but like Indians really got a good sense of humor. So if like you mispronounce something, like they'll just laugh at you. Like,
yeah, that the language stuff is interesting to me because really we come European culture, which we're all a part of. It's kind of, there's a Latin base of things, you know, there's Spanish things and English things, and it's all here, you know. Spanish is buenos dias, yo paso loco, I am a crazy clown. It's all in here. And I'm around a lot of Brazilians that speak Portuguese, and it's a little different, but the native languages, the way that they enunciated and expressed was, you can tell it's based on completely different things. It intrigues me. Like, I love to hear it when they speak, you know. That's why Ray, it's hard to me. I think it would be very hard.
yeah, like natives are very visual people. So like you're named like Indian names, you're named accordingly, you know, to how you behave or something you did. You know, your character, you're named, you know, how you are and or how you look. And like you, I was just thinking like you, I call you and Jake Hayworth, you know, I call you guys both the same thing as outsopsy, napikwan.
Outsopsy, not what?
Outsopsy,
Outsopsy,
napi,
kwan. On what and what is okay? What is it?
The crazy white man.
That's it. That's simple.
Yeah.
Why do you ask? Two dogs screwing. Remember that one?
Yeah, I mean, like really visual people, like even now, like they give nicknames, you know, Indians give everybody, like I don't even know, like a lot of people in my family, I don't even know their real name. I just know their nickname. Like
well, obviously Mouse isn't a real name. Do you know Mouse?
Yeah, like I thought that was his real name until just a couple of years ago here I found out that his older sister, when he was a baby, he ate the middle out of a piece of bread like a mouse, and so she started calling him Mouse. It just stuck.
Yeah, well, Dutch's name is what's Dutch's name? I know because he's been in
Alvin.
A lot of movies. Alvin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I see him on movie credits. There's guys make good money. Skinny Campbell. I don't know what Skinny Campbell's name was.
Yeah, I didn't even know Skinny's real name.
He wasn't skinny. I mean, when I know it, you know. That's been speaking of that, and I see Alonzo Skunk Cap's been doing some stuff, and Dutch and Scotty and them, I almost said. They have been, the TV / movie industry has been good to a lot of guys up there, hasn't
it? Yep. Yeah.
Stunt work, horse wrangling, providing horses. Those guys have done really well. What about you? Or when are you going to be Yellowstone? Like, you're perfect. Like, you're perfect for that. Has anybody talked to you?
I gotten a few offers, like, to go on movies and stuff, but it was always like right in the heat of rodeo season. So I never went, you know, like, and there's movies that get shot that are like during the winter and stuff like that, say like down like in warmer states. But I guess it's something I wanna do in my life as well. But it just, I guess the stars just haven't quite aligned yet, because that'd be pretty fun. I mean, you get paid to go and be yourself, you know.
Dougie Hall as Indian number one.
Yeah, Indian number one.
Dougie, let me give you a tip. I've been on a couple movie sets, and I know it's rodeo season, but I'm just going to tell you, it pays more than riding broncs. I'm telling you, it's pretty good, buddy. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Listen, if you get on like Yellowstone, you got to take me. You got to be like,
heck yeah, for sure. No, I definitely keep that in mind. You know, if I get an opportunity to go, you know, the next time around, I'll definitely go, because it's those guys, they come back and they just tell you how much fun they had, you know, and you see them on TV like, oh, hey, you know, that's Dutch and that's Doug Fitzgerald and that's Danny Edmo, you know, you see, like, you know, it's pretty fun to watch them.
I don't watch Yellowstone very often, but I watched an episode where they had to take some horses, the BLM or whatever had them all corralled up, and they had to trail them through the mountains. Of course, it's TV, so it's a dead run, which a lot of times with horses it is. And I kept going, I know that. And so they got a bunch of Indians. That was the deal. They got a bunch of Indians to help them. And I think I recognized like a third of them. Like, it's from the same herd of horses. You know, you just go pick another, you know, so, but, hey, tell me this. I don't think between you and me, it's a touchy subject. I've talked to a couple of my friends. I remember having the conversation with Dustin Bird from up in Cutbank, Browning. I'm not going to ask you how I'm supposed to feel, but give me your take, because in our culture today, it's a real hot topic. My memories of mascots, and I'm going to maybe in this part post a picture. I have a picture of the Browning Indians basketball team running out onto the floor at a tournament in full headdresses. From my childhood, that is one of the coolest high school sports memories that I have. The guys drumming on the sideline and them coming out and doing layups in full headdresses on the, you know, and they're the Browning Indians.
Yeah.
That's my memory of mascots being Indians. The Browning Indians, the Lodge Grass Indians, the Poplar Indians, the Ronan Chiefs, the Flathead Braves.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see. I always looked at it. There was a real pride there. It's a touchy subject in our country. What's your take on it? The Cleveland Indians baseball team changed their name.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts is it's all about, you see, in Indian culture, it's all about respect, right? It's all about respect. Part of that's honesty. And what's the other one? Respect, honesty, and common sense. You know, those are basic. I mean, that's not written in stone, but to me, that's what I gather from all of the teachings I've got from elders and stuff. And so I think if you do it in a respectful way, it's all right. You know what I mean? Say, like, if the mascot, you know, like the Browning Indian, you know, obviously the mascot is a real Indian, and they draw a really respectful, you know, like you see it on buses and stuff.
Yeah.
They draw them in a really respectful way. And so I think if you do it in a respectful way, say, like, if, you know, the mascot, say for like did the Washington Redskins, did they change their name?
They did. Yeah.
They did.
They did. Good job, Doug. Way to keep up with it. Yeah. They did a couple of years ago. They just eliminated. Yeah. But look what their logo was, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, like because their logo, I think that one was was that like it looked like the same Indian off the remember the Buffalo Head nickel?
Could be. It was it was designed by Blackie Wetzel up on the Blackfeet reservation, and it was modeled after a Blackfeet chief, something calf. I'd have to look it up.
Two Guns White Calf.
Two Guns White Calf.
Yeah.
And so it was a dignified, okay, rightly so. The Cleveland Indians mascot was a cartoon caricature of an Indian. So I get the actual visual of it. But like the Redskins one, it's kind of the opposite. The name is a derogatory term in history. The logo itself was very dignified and very prideful, correct?
Yeah, I think so. If you do it in like how you saying, dignified and prideful, and you're respect and honest about it, To me, it's all right. You know what I mean? Like, like say like if it really got down to it and they needed to, they got their mask. If they go and hire a native, tell them we'll pay you such and such, and he's their mascot. Like I think that'd be all right. You know what I mean? Because he'd be a real authentic Native American, wearing the regalia and stuff, and then it'd be okay. Yeah. And that's my take on it. I'm not too I don't get bent out of shape over a lot of things like that. Like there's a lot of people that do, but I think there's way more important things in life, because it's easy. Like I listen to Les Brown a lot, motivational speaker. He said he thinks people are just born negative, and a lot of the negative people, they're what it is they're just unhappy. They're unhappy with their life because you're familiar with the medicine wheel, right, Flint?
Yes.
Like to me, the medicine wheel, like the way I was taught, like there's 4 parts to it. You take care of yourself mentally, physically, socially, and spiritually. And at the center of that medicine wheel, I believe there's one in everybody, is who you truly are. And if you don't take care of who you truly are, or take care of yourself in those aspects of your life, you're going to be unhappy. You're going to be a real sour son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And people that are really unhappy are going to find something to complain about. They're going to find somebody to hate. They're going to find something to hate because they're not taking care of who they truly are. So that's my whole take on the thing, is a lot of people that complain and are upset is they're not looking in the mirror. Don't worry about what that guy's doing. Like Mouse always said, that watch your own gate, because if you watch your neighbor's gate, stuff's going to get out of your gate. So watch your gate, is how he says it. And I just like to watch my own gate.
You gotta make a little book, Mouseisms, and there's one on every page. Just a daily Mouseism.
A daily Mouseism.
Yeah. There you go. Look at, we're a team, man.
Heck yeah, this is working out good.
That I don't know. I'm interested in it because I'm a sports guy, but I get a lot of my friends from out of state. I have a good friend I work with. I won't say who he is, but he's from Houston area, and he, through the years, we do autograph signings at the mall during the Billings PBR, and a lot of natives, a lot of Indians, they come from all over to the PBR, and so they come through and get autographs. So my big thing is I ask, okay, it's Clint Atkins. It's what it is. And I'll elbow Clint and say, do you remember Lodgegrass? What's their mascot? Do you remember? And I'd say, look at him. What's their mascot? He to this day is very uncomfortable just saying the word Indian because he grew up down away from it all and has been told it's offensive, And I tell a lot of my out-of-state friends, I get it, but my take is different because of that pride. The Lodgegrass Indians, you don't think they are full of pride? The Browning Indians, they're playing for more than just, they're playing for all those people that are packed in that gym, and they are packed in that gym. I don't know. But I have a great picture. It's my favorite one. And man, I love that. I remember the friend of mine played for the Conrad Cowboys.
Yeah.
And so one tournament championship they were playing, and the Indians came out in their full headdresses, which is my favorite. Well, they all got white cowboy hats and came out, and they're out there already. And he had his white cowboy hat, and the Indians came out and they circled the center circle, and he was stuck in the middle, and they just kept circling him, and they wouldn't let him out. And he said, I'm like, holy shit, what do I do? I can't get out. Classic. So I don't know. It was such a great time in my childhood, it's anyway. I mentioned earlier, you're traveling to some schools and doing some public speaking to kids. In a nutshell, you've covered a lot of it, but what do you end with? Like, what do you think you're leaving those kids with when they walk out of that gym?
Um, hopefully I'm leaving, like what I try to leave him with a touch of Mouse Hall, because he's really been influential in my life. And hopefully what I left them with is that I pointed them in a good direction. I don't care what they do with their life, as long as it's, for them, as long as they're taking care of themselves and who they truly are, who's at the center of their medicine wheel. And that they're just taking care of that person in the mirror. You know what I mean? Because you can try to save and try to fix everybody around, a lot of times the people we can help the least is the people that we love the most. And that's really tough in Native culture because we're really family based. So you want to fix, you want to save, you want to rescue everybody, but you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, say like somebody in your family is not doing very good. Well, they're making, really bad decisions. They're hurting themselves and they're hurting people around them. Well, the way I look at it is, you've been around buffalo, right?
A little bit.
A buffalo is not like a cow or a horse. A buffalo is not going to veer off. A buffalo is going to go straight, no matter what's in front of it. And that's why how we fed ourselves back in the day. We used to drive them off cliffs.
Yeah.
Well, say a person that you love, that you're close to, is, making bad decisions for themselves and people around. Well, they're like a buffalo headed for a cliff. And, if you get on your horse and you try to head that buffalo off, you're either going to go off the cliff with it, or you get close enough, it's going to hook the piss out of you. So just pull your horse up and save your own ass. You know what I mean? And so hopefully that's what I leave those kids with, and I always, throw some humor in there. I tell them things like, chase your dreams, not your cousins.
I see, I'm gonna have to go back and write all these down. I like that one. Chase your dreams, not your cousins.
Yeah, because well, you know how it is on the res. You're related to everybody. Everybody's a cousin.
Hey, do you know that guy? He's my cousin.
Yeah.
It's spelled how do we use it? Cuzen? My cousin.
My cousin.
Yeah. You're right though. You do got to take. They say that a lot. With stuff I've been through, I've talked to people who counsel and things, and the big thing they said is you got to take care of you first. You got to be okay to help somebody else. And sometimes you're right. Because you damn right. People think raising, people say it's a bison. The hell it is. It's a buffalo. The Tonka. It's a buffalo. But
it's a bison and a Native American.
Yeah. Look at the bison and the Native American. It's a buffalo and an Indian to me, but whatever. But they are not cows. They're a wild animal basically. And sometimes you got to pull your horse up and let the buffalo run off the cliff to take care of you and your horse. I mean,
yeah, you're good.
That's a good
take
message.
Care, number one. That's what Mouse, he always tells me, you got to take care of the man in the mirror. And like I've had a lot of long talks with him about it. Like we'd be out riding horses and gathering cows and stuff. And he'd say, my boy, he said, everything I'd done in my life, he said, I done it for Mouse Hall. He said, I didn't do it for my wife. I didn't do it for my kids. He said, I did it for this guy. And I really got a lot out of that, because by doing all those things for himself, he took care of the people around him. You know what I mean? Because they saw him doing that. And just like, Lunatic Fringe and his babies, he passed those traits on. You know what I mean? He taught me how to be my own man. He taught me, and he's always got these little one-liners that, they always pop up into my head. A lot of them you probably shouldn't say on camera. So
we're a podcast. You can say whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Well, he'd always tell me, he taught me how to take care of myself and to be my own saddle horse, not to go and be somebody else's saddle horse. And I'm not saying quit your job if you have a job. You know what I mean? work hard, at your job, do whatever you got to do, but always work hard for yourself too. You know what I mean? Because if you work hard for yourself, it's eventually it's gonna pay off for you, and you will be working for yourself. So that's one thing he taught me, was how to take a job and start it and finish it, and just keep taking care of the guy in the mirror. Like when, I've always loved horses. I've loved bucking horses. I love riding them, but hanging out with him, I fell in love with the bloodlines. I fell in love with the raising of them just from being around him. And one day, I finally just asked him, because he was always, programming me like that every morning over coffee. Take care of the man in the mirror, watch your own gait, do things for yourself. And I asked him, Uncle, what's your plans with your bucking horses? And he said, my boy, I'm going to hospitals instead of rodeos. What do you got in mind? He said, I'm getting pretty old to play with them. I said, well, I've watched you since I was like this big. Take a bucking horse. And this is what he said, you ever hear the law of attraction? What you think about, you bring about. He said, I told him, I watched you build a horse up here in your mind. And then I watched you go and take that mare and that stud and put them together to make that thought. And after that thought was made and it was on the ground, I watched you raise it. And then I watched that thought buck across my TV screen. And I can't let that go away. I said, will you sell me some? He said, sure. So, that's when we went to helping him gather and go through his bucking horses. And they hadn't been gone through in a long time. And so we went through and we, were picking what was going to work, what mixes, which studs, which mares we wanted to keep for him. And when we went to gather him, I remember my favorite mare had just kind of separated herself and she was staring at me. And I was going to leave her out of respect for that old guy. I was going to leave her to him. And he looked at me and said, how about her? Do you want her? And I told him, are you sure? And he said, yeah. You pick them. That way, if they don't buck, it ain't my fault. We got them picked and loaded on the trailer. And like I said, like he's always the guy that he's always shown me that he loved me, but he's never said it. Like I said, he's the Indian John Wayne. So when I bought them bucking horses from him, got them loaded on the trailer, and I wrote the check, and then I tore the check out, went to hand it to him, and he came up to me and like those old gruff cowboys, like when you go and they're not touchy-feely people. Mm-hmm. So like him, I'd always tell him I loved him and I'd hug him. And when I would hug him, he would just go like this.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they give you that awkward pat, like just really quick like that. That's what he would always do. And anyway, I tore the check out and I went to hand it to him and he said, I hope they give you a good start, my boy. I love you. And he gave me a hug, like a real hug. And I looked up and I started crying and I thought, holy shit, you finally said it. I had to give you a check first, but you finally said it.
I was waiting for him to tear up the...
Oh, no, he cashed it.
But he loves you.
Yeah, but he loves you.
Oh, that's a good story. That is a good story. Well, listen, one of the great things you say, and it's in a good, I wrote it down as I was reading something so that I remember it, because I'm going to use it because, Dancin Dougie Hall, you do the big Indian dance at the end of a ride. And I like what you said. You said you never have been showing off doing it. You just are so full of joy after a good ride that it comes out in you. And that's why you do the dance, and it makes other people smile watching you full of joy. And making people smile is good medicine. That's good medicine.
Yeah.
And I do know this, Doug. We've been talking for about an hour, and I feel way better now than when we started talking. You're good medicine, buddy. You're good medicine.
So are you, Flint. I was just thinking about this. I met you when I was like 12 or 11 years old at the PBR in Billings. And I still have the poster. You autographed it for me.
Really?
And yeah, like how he was talking about the law of attraction. You autographed it for me, and I was looking at it and I thought, holy shit, I'm going on a podcast with him, here in a couple minutes.
Huh.
And yeah, no, I thought that was pretty cool. And then what you think about, you bring about, like everything. It's all
well, I don't remember you, but whatever. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Let's keep being good medicine for each other. Deal?
Sounds good.
Thanks, Dougie.